The art of letting go is so profound because you're telling your subconscious that you have more than enough. You're entering into a state of gratitude because you're not functioning out of fear. A lot of times when we hold on to things, we are holding on to it because we have a fear of what's going to happen if we let that item go, or what if I need it in the future, or what if all of a sudden, whatever it is, it usually stems from fear of not having enough. And that's why letting go and decluttering and purging is so profound, because you are doing an act, a physical act of releasing something in the physical that's connected to something spiritual, and you're letting it go. So we are 11 days away from the new year. I would highly encourage you, if you're feeling anxious and you're just feeling like overly stimulated with your environment and with Christmas, to maybe step out of the season just for a moment and see if there's anything you can do to gain some control back, gain some sanity back. And that's what I do. I function off of a rhythm that is very different from how the world functions, because I feel like we're all on our own race. We're running our own race, and I want to enjoy and experience every part of life. And if I'm feeling and I'm sensing that I'm off, or that I'm not functioning at my best because, I'm just feeling anxious, or there's too much to do, my to-do list is too large, I need to take a step back. And really, this year has just gone by so fast, and now we're entering into 2025. And I don't know about you, but I want to keep elevating, I want to keep enhancing, I want to keep growing and getting better, simplifying. And I really, really want to simplify life, get rid of as much distraction, and really trim the fat. So there's seasons for this. When you're in the holiday season, it's a little bit more abundant, and that's fine. You're decorating a little bit more abundant, you have more stuff out, it feels a little bit more cluttered, there's a lot of friends and family around, there's a hustle and bustle, everybody's doing something, and that's a really fun place to be. But I don't like being there for after the season. I like to enter into a really simplified season after that. And I start Christmas rather early because I really like the anticipation of something instead of lingering in something that's already passed. So for me, the anticipation of what's coming is more exciting than hanging around in a season that's already done. I'm already kind of on to the next thing. A lot of people might say that you're rushing through the seasons, but I'm just shifting them to work for my life. And so that maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. But the New Year's is less than 2 weeks away, so this is a really great time to reset. You can start with your environment and do some tangible things that might help you reset and refresh your mind, just with organizing or letting go, purging a little bit here and there, and then enter into a physical and health reset. That's really been my journey over the past few years. Is I started out, I didn't focus on my health right away because I didn't want two big, massive things that I had to focus on and then overwhelm myself when I couldn't, complete them or whatever. So it was just too much. So I started with just the environment first. And for me, I had to move. I was in a season for so long where my habits controlled my life. So even though we had a house, and then we had like a little townhome, we lived in a big house, lived in a small house, lived in a small apartment, or townhome, it was still, the habits were still there. So everything was kind of the same because I hadn't grown out of my old self until I actually moved completely and did a completely different 180 lifestyle. When I did that lifestyle change, I was forced to be different. I put myself in an environment where financially it was a massive stretch for us, so I couldn't do the spending. That helped really halt my old ways. It put me in a place where I had to experience the outdoors more than wasting time just decorating constantly inside. I wanted a place with a lot of windows so I didn't have to clutter the walls up. I wanted to feel like the inside and the outside were kind of one and the same. And I wanted to leverage my time, so I put myself in a place, my family, we put ourselves in a place where we had access to things that were around us so we didn't have to spend time driving all over the place. So it was just really a positioning more than anything. And when you position yourself to come up to a higher level, what you're doing is you're saying, you're almost becoming that you're pulling the future self to the present by becoming that now. By positioning yourself in a place that maybe you're like, well, I've never lived like this before. I've never done anything like this before. My routines are different. I'm getting up earlier. I'm exercising. I'm around people who care, who didn't give up on life, that aren't just hanging around and watching Netflix series all the time. Like, I'm actually doing something, and I'm around people who are sharpening me. That's really the place that you want to get to. And that's what I love about the online community, because a lot of us sharpen each other. Now, there's obviously influencers and content creators that bring you down those dark shopping holes where you're just massively consuming on a bunch of garbage. And if that's you, well, that's your thing. I've unfollowed a lot of people that they're just constantly pushing a bunch of junk and garbage and stuff like that. And really what they're doing is they're just getting women in debt and then making them buy a bunch of things they don't need. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be one of those content creators or whatever influencers. I didn't start out being this way. I started out just doing interior design for people's homes, and then it just kind of morphed into this lifestyle brand as I went through my own journey. And what I really like to do is help women come up and out of cycles and habits that they have been in for years. Women and men. It doesn't necessarily have to be women. It could be anybody. You're stuck in a cycle because of how you were raised, what you've gone through as a child. Maybe your parents consumed and they thrifted all the time and they saved everything, and you just grew up in a place of just this constant, cycle. It just happens. It's like the mindset of so many people that you have to do things a certain way, you have to live a certain way, you have to have a house, you have to have 2 cars, your kids have to go to certain schools, you need the latest and greatest, you've got all this stuff, buy this because it's on sale, even if you don't care about it, save this just in case you might need it, save your nice things, don't use your nice things because, they're too nice to use. And I just wanted to blow a hole into that whole ideology. Use your nice things now. So when I purged my closet, I got rid of everything that I didn't feel amazing in. I didn't like it. I didn't like how it fit. Maybe it fit me before and doesn't now. And you know what I was left with? I was left with all the things that I loved. All the clothes that I loved were left. So I was forced to wear what I loved. The same thing with house stuff, saving things and keeping things just because it was a good deal. You already spent the money. It's not like you're getting the money back just because you have it. Might as well let it go. But when I started letting go of things that I bought just because they were a good deal, or stuff that I'd had for years that maybe was great at one time, or my style had changed or whatever, I was left with all the things that I loved. And then I got to really appreciate, like, wow, I really like this table, or I really like this vase, or I really like this style bedding. That's how you really learn what you love, because you'll hold on to it and you'll spend money on it. And it's not about being frugal your whole life and like buying the cheapest. It's about buying something that reciprocates back to you how you want to feel. Because even if you're not focused on that item, it's telling you something when you walk by it. It's either telling you, help me, I need help, I'm chipped up, come take care of me and come fix me. It's bothering you out of the corner of your eye because you're like, oh man, I really hate that piece, or I can't stand the color of that, or something about that I really don't like. Or you're walking by it and you're admiring it and you're like, wow, that really looks good. I really like how those colors flow together. It just feels good. The room feels good. Well, your kids are also sensing that as well with what you buy and what you keep when they're in an environment. So if your kids are feeling anxious and a little chaotic, check their room. If it's just crazy and there's stuff everywhere and toys everywhere, chances are they probably don't even want to be in it, or they're just overly stimulated and they need a place to relax and a place to really calm their mind. Might want to tone it down. So again, the holidays, it's definitely a little bit more abundant. That's really when I like to get a little creative. You want to have fun. You got the whole year to go neutral and simple. So the holidays is really a time to decorate the tree, get all the colors out, have some fun, make some sweets, bake and stuff like that. But you'll know when it's time to halt. Okay, it's time to halt. And I guess I've just reached that point I've reached that point. I mean, let's face it, I needed to halt. I felt bloated and, there was just too much going on and I needed to tone it down. So obviously my trees are still up and we're looking forward to Christmas morning, and we have some still festivities over the next few days, which will be fun. And those are just things that you just weave in. But in the meantime, I'm taking some downtime and really refocusing and regrouping on what's the future look like, and how do I see that? Where do I see my family? And really allowing myself to enter into a new year of a fresh mind. And that's, January is such a good time to kind of pull back and prune. You have to prune. You have to go into like a barren state where you're just quiet for a while. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't show up online or you can't show up for people, but you're just pulling back a little bit. You're seeing, what do I really need in life? What's really important to me? What are some things that I can let go of? Who are some people that I need to let go of that are really, causing havoc and frustration in my life, that are not helping me be better? And get a reset, mind, body, soul reset. Spend some time with God, like spend some quiet time talking to him on what are your plans for me, Lord? What do you want for me to do? And what direction do I go in? What's my purpose? What are my gifts? And allow him to help flourish that, help bloom, and bring that forth.